Hey there, toy collector friends and Star Wars fans alike. Welcome back to the channel. I am the time-travelling toy collector, and as this goes out, I hope I can wish you all a very merry festive period for 2022. I'll be doing a few videos over the next few days as part of the festive break. Some of them I'm very excited about, if not all of them, but this one is one of those that I just can't express how excited I am about it. You may have seen some of my other posts on Instagram about the Kenner Hasbro retro collection of original Star Wars figures. They were being released as a box set and I missed out upon it. I was gutted. And I also had the opportunity to pick it up at a convention I was at where it was going for 70 quid. And I thought, oh well, I'll go for a wander around and I'll come back if it's there, it's meant to be. I don't know why I do that to myself. So I did that, came back, and it wasn't meant to be because the entire stock of them had sold out. And as luck would have it, this is now mine. So I'm so pleased that I was able to get this online. And if you've been looking at Hasbro Pulse, over the festive period, they've been doing a advent calendar, and they reissued this as one of their advent calendar days for a cut price of, I think it was £55, which, considering it's got 6 remolded, reproduced, original classic Star Wars figures within it, I think that's excellent. Anyway, let's take a look at this packaging. I'm not going to spend too long on this, as this isn't overly original. But yeah, so there's the classic Star Wars logo, small parts, don't eat the small parts, and the 6 figures in the lineup of this retro collection: Stormtrooper, Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, Chewbacca, Han Solo. Now, back in the 1970s and 1980s, I had all of these except the Princess Leia figure. I just never had any interest in collecting the Princess Leia figure, don't know why. There's some lovely classic photos of the characters from the first original Star Wars film, later redubbed A New Hope. Fantastic. Just so you're aware, both sides are pretty much the same in terms of they're being duplicated, and we just have the Star Wars master logo on the side. So let me pop that back there and I'll see if I can keep everything on display. So I have already taken them out. They are carded. I wasn't originally sure when I saw this come out if they would be individually, how they'd been individually packed, but brilliantly they've been individually packed on their card, and they're not punched. Now, for some collectors this is everything, for others it's not all that, doesn't really matter. For me, I'm a bit in the middle. I was just so thrilled to be able to get this from a nostalgia point of view, because as some of you who've been following my videos will know, Star Wars toys really was the first franchise of toys that I collected in their original format back in the 1970s and the 80s. So getting these is brilliant, absolutely fantastic. I think pretty much every single Star Wars figure that I owned has been lost to car boot sales or cracks in pavements, goodness knows what else. So I was so made up when I had the opportunity to collect finally these. There's a lot of reissue, repackaged, repurposed, represented Star Wars figures out there. We now have the Black series, which has been going for a few years, where it's really highly detailed figures. And don't get me wrong, they are superbly produced in the main. However, they weren't what we had back in the 70s and 80s, which were frankly chunks of plastic. Much like Generation 1 Transformers and whatever else was going on for us at the time. It was chunky plastic that we were lucky if it could move at all. And that was the case with these figures. They really had 4 to 5 points of articulation. Again, if we were lucky, Chewbacca here, which is the first one I've pulled out of the box, doesn't even have that. He only has 2 hips, 2 shoulders. There's no elbows, there's no wrists, there's no head or neck articulation. But you know what? We didn't care. This was amazing. And the figure is, I'm instantly whisked back And of course, back then, I just ripped this plastic bubble was gone, so that I could play with the latest addition to my Star Wars figures collection. They've done this, just a note on presentation, this is consistent across the piece, so I'll do it on Chewbacca and I don't have to do it every single time. But they've got this weathering effect on the card. Now, obviously in our day being my day, it didn't have this weathering effect, it was black. It may have developed it over time had we kept them, but this is, so that for me, again, I'm happier with the figures and the fact I've got this wonderful display card, because I so many times I nearly purchased it the first time around and then stopped myself. Clearly there was an element of destiny in that, but genuinely, it's the figure itself rather than the packaging that I'm up for. But I have stopped myself opening them like my childhood self would have done. But if the opportunity to get a second box comes along, I might do it. I might do it just so that I can open them up. So I may revisit that Hasbro Pulse advent calendar, even if they've all the deal is finished. If they've got some left in the box format, because everywhere was saying it was sold out, I may go for it. But yeah, so that, I personally would have been happier without this. I think I'm not too super bothered, but I think I would have been happier without that, so that it did look pristine as it would have done in the 70s and the 80s. Also, this is a sticker. It's a sticker without a peel me off here. Now, we've already got it, as you can see. We've already got it here on the main box. So we know what we're getting here. So we don't need that rammed down our throats every 5 minutes. Thank you, Hasbro. But I understand why you've done it, just so we know it isn't an original. But we know it's not an original, and anyone worth their salt would know it's not an original. That just frustrates me because it's plonked right over that picture. And the extra reason it frustrates me is because we could take it off, but then we run the risk of damaging the card, and the actual damage rather than the artificial damage. And of course, it's covering up this fantastic picture, which was not the case in the majority of the originals. We sometimes had a sticker or like a flash across it which told us about the free figure or the send away, mail away option, which was great. But this is unnecessary, considering at the back we don't have a replication of what we used to, of what we did have, which was that lovely sort of checklist photograph card at the back which told us what we could get. And here it says it again, you know, it's part of the design of the back card. So you didn't need to stick that on the front, Hasbro. You're picking it up on the back, part of the print, so it's not even a sticker. You're just giving us the list. I think it would have been lovely if you could have recreated that, you know, original 12 back, but you didn't. I say original 12 because yes, there's the 6 here, but there's also the next box set which is due to come out early 2023, which includes Obi-Wan Kenobi, R2 and C-3PO, etc, etc. So I'm very excited for that. But yeah, so here's Chewbacca, and again, I can't say it's wonderfully reminiscent of the original figure. Well, no, sorry, of the characters, because again, lots of these weren't super reminiscent of the figures. They were just what they were. Although of all of them, Chewbacca does do really well. You can see those lovely blue eyes back there and the teeth. I still think this is possibly better than the 1970s version, but very, very true to it. Very, very true to it, complete with that sidearm that he's got there. So anyway, those critiques about the packaging and the carding, bit of a nuisance. Not a deal breaker for me by any stretch of the imagination, because that's not really what I'm here for, but I do fully appreciate anyone who would be miffed about it. But I love the figure, so I'm not going to pick them up on every single card. I want to get through these because I know you know, if you are watching this over the festive period, thank you for inviting me into your home or onto your mobile device. But I won't take all your time up with me whinging. I'd much rather bask in the joy of having these figures in time for Christmas, and I think that it's a wonderful, wonderful mould, and I'm back, as I say, I'm back in the 70s with this Chewbacca. So let's pop him down for now. And who goes with Chewbacca? Well, of course, it has to be Han Solo, does it not? And again, this is very reminiscent of the original figure. There's the beautiful photo that we had. Some of you who got these the first time around will remember that, I mean, I used to keep the cards, but to be fair, they usually had a hole there because I'd sent away for Neon Num or whoever else it was at the time that you sent away the names for, so that you got those figures in the mail away. This Han Solo figure, always thought it was very strange, peculiar arm bend there, but I know where it came from because it was obviously the quick draw thing. That head sculpt is very reminiscent of the one back in the day. And there's his pistol, which is lovingly recreated, and I remember vividly having that pistol as a child. As I say, that's the photo, again slightly marred by that sticker, but we're not talking about that. But yeah, so there's Han Solo, and again a beautiful recreation of that figure. I did love the flat hand scenario because I could have him patting, much as I did with C-3PO, R2 on the top. Yeah, down to the belts and his waistcoat. It just takes me right back. Again, I do feel it feels like a slightly different mold to me, but I am going back a good 40 odd years in my mind as to what these look like, so forgive my fading memory. But yeah, I think it's pretty accurate, and I for one am very pleased to have original Han Solo back in the collection. So let's swap Han out and bring in our next entry, which is, now this one is Princess Leia Organa, and as I say, this is one I never had. It's one of the few Star Wars figures that I never had. I don't know why. I don't want to be that kid who was like, oh, I don't want the girl Star Wars figure, because I don't think that was what I thought. But who knows? I don't know, because I don't know why I didn't have it. I had the other versions of Leia. I had the Hoth Leia and the Bespin Leia and all the rest of it. But this one, I think I just missed it. I think I just missed it in favour of other figures, and then it was gone. The cape wraps around here. It's that vinyl cape. The only one I didn't have the vinyl cape on was the Jawa, but yeah, here it is in its vinyl glory with her long, thin laser blaster there, and her chunky legs. I remember her and several of the other Star Wars figures at the time having these ridiculously chunky legs, which indicated, I think, that they were supposed to be sort of flowing robes underneath the capes or whatever they were wearing, and they replicated that with chunky legs. I think it's kind of nice that we can sort of see that she's got those very self-same chunky legs here, again with the holes in the feet that you can use to stand them up again on those figure stands or base stands. But yeah, so Princess Leia with the fantastic hot cross bun haircut. Never had you in my collection, and I'm so pleased to finally say I now own an original Star Wars Princess Leia from the original Star Wars film. I get that it's the retro collection reproduction, but it's a bit of unfinished business for me, that I was very aware that I never had this iteration of the character. And there we see the wonderful Carrie Fisher in character there, sans robe in that particular photograph. So beautiful. Thank you, Princess Leia, for joining the family. Talking of the family, here we have her brother, spoilers, Luke Skywalker, very blonde Luke Skywalker. Again, that iconic photo of Mark Hamill on the plains of Tatooine, or Tunisia, depending on what you want to say, and the wonderful gimmick that is the lightsaber with the, let me see if I can show you if we can see it. There it is, the little yellow lever up his arm that enables you to slide out that lightsaber for some epic battles. It is of course the wrong colour lightsaber, because Luke's lightsaber was his dad's lightsaber, which wasn't yellow, but Luke Skywalker had a yellow lightsaber. And yeah, again, fascinating to just observe how poor by today's 21st century standards this action figure is, but by the same token, just looking at it, I remember the adverts that came on the TV, and how I would have Luke having lightsaber battles with Darth Vader, etc., with these lightsabers that made no sense. But yeah, really evocative of my childhood, and very evocative of the play features of the time, however limited, but at least he's got head articulation, and that very, very blonde look. I think there are a couple of different iterations of blonde Luke, and this is very blonde Luke. Yeah, I'm just so I think if you had these figures, weren't a mega collector, haven't kept hold of them, they've lost them to time, then you really probably are with me in terms of understanding the nostalgia I'm feeling looking at these figures. And honest to goodness, it's taking an awful lot of me to not take them off these card backings. And you know what, I will look and see if I can get a second box set that I can then unbox. Maybe the answer is to set up a Patreon or something like that, and see if people would indulge me and let me buy things with their money. That seems to be the way to go these days. I'm joking. I'm half joking. Now I don't know if I'm joking at all. The more I say it, the more it sounds like a really good business move. But to be honest, yeah, I'm just really happy to have these. So I hope that some of you are able to bask in those memories and remember the times that these figures connect us to. Mostly for me, happy times. Not all of them happy times, but mostly for me, happy times. And certainly these figures represent the happiest of those times. So yeah, without further ado, we shall park Luke. Rather disturbingly, I'm placing him on top of his sister, just off camera, but that's not the first time that's happened. Anyway, Darth Vader is our next one, and he's proper wrapped up in his cape. And his lightsaber, his orange lightsaber, has been extended. So not only can we not see the detailing on his body, we can certainly see it on his mask, or helmet, sorry, life support system if you wish. But we can see his extended lightsaber. I'm not sure why his is packed extended and Luke's is packed winched in, as it were. But yeah, sadly we can't see the detailing on his body. Another reason why I might want to open it up. But again, you can't see it here either because of this blasted sticker that I'm not talking about. But I do remember that it has that little computer panel thing in the middle of his chest, and then there's the belt, and then what looked like very tight-fitting leather trousers. Is that how I remember the action figure? But that could just be me. But yeah, so a fantastic arrangement of an assortment of figures in this initial 6 collection box, and yeah, I'm so happy to have this back. Funnily enough, my original Darth Vader figure survived all sorts of things, but I remember playing, because we didn't have play sets, we didn't have anything dramatic like that. I actually put him at some point, don't ask me why, I can't tell you, inside my bedside lamp. I upturned him because it had one of those sort of springless, like flexible stands, so you could bend it. And like a cup-shaped bulb area, and I had him in there whilst I was playing, and to create the tension and the drama, I turned the light on, and it melted back, because it's science, so you know, I should have thought that through, but it melted the back of his vinyl cape, so I had to keep the back of his vinyl cape hidden the whole time. But yeah, that was a little bit of insight into my crazy childhood. I wasn't an arsonist, by the way. That was I was absolutely distraught when that happened. But never mind. Funny memories we have. But I love that sculpt. I love it, and I wish I could see more of his body. But I think for that to happen, I would have to take him off the card, which is, you know, a strange thing, because I just, you know, the last time I had a carded Star Wars figure from the original film, the amount of time I've been talking about all of them was not how long they would have lasted on the card. Just wouldn't have happened. So as Darth Vader goes and has a little lie down, the last one in this set, as you can see from the box, it's hardly a spoiler, is the Stormtrooper. And again, that's the photo from the original. There's the beautifully unyellowed Stormtrooper figure, some fantastic body armor detailing there. Loved it. I think you can still see, yes, that's those additional, like the round little thing on the back of his belt. And what I think was the most popular Star Wars gun mold ever for the toys. It was reused time and time again. And I was at holiday, another little anecdote of my original toy history, which I'll do really quickly because I know you've had more than enough now as you're looking at that head sculpt. That's a fantastic head sculpt. Looks a little bit like the black paintwork on the helmet isn't quite lined up, but maybe that is how it was originally. Because again, it wasn't particularly superb as they are nowadays. But anyway. Yeah, I was very particular about keeping, as it won't surprise you, about keeping the appropriate guns with the appropriate figures. But I was visiting family in Scotland as a child. I'd taken all my Star Wars action figures with me so I wouldn't be bored on a family holiday in the very, very early 80s. And I remember losing the Stormtrooper laser rifle pistol gun thing because I only had one Stormtrooper. I didn't have an army of Stormtrooper figures because once you had one, in those days if you had it, you had it. You didn't get two of them. You know, they cost about £1 or just under £1, so that's expensive. But yeah, those it was unique to him. You know, as I say, there were other iterations of it, but this one was unique to him. And I was gutted that I lost it in some gravel, and I really, really searched in that gravel and I never found it. It was heartbreaking. As only a Star Wars figure collector who would be about 9 or 10 or 11 would know how heartbreaking that would be to lose your Stormtrooper rifle. But nevertheless, there he is, and I think again a beautiful recreated sculpt of that original figure, and indeed the packaging, bar those curiosities around the edges to give it that weathered retro feel. So thank you, Hasbro, for all of that, and indeed the rest of the retro collection that are indeed available. But it's just too sprawling, and I have to know my limitations, and my limitations are that to go after all of the new Star Wars figures would probably bankrupt me and see me destitute, kicked out of my house, and all the rest of it, which I'm trying to avoid. I'm trying to avoid happening. But this set was brilliant because it was part of those original 12. The other 6 are coming out early in the new year, and I will be on that like I don't know what. But I'm so pleased to finally have this. It did become sort of by extension a holy grail piece for me. Once I did, because again, my experience in the convention told me how much I wanted it, because the fact that I'd walked away, come back and it had gone, and I was so gutted, told me the next time I get the opportunity to get it, I have to, which is what I did, and I have to get that second collection set with R2 and C-3PO and Ben Kenobi and the others in it. I simply have to pick that up. So there'll be no hanging around, and the fact that I've already got the first one means that I'll be far more inclined to do that anyway. But it's beautiful. It's a beautifully packaged piece. It's lovely for us collectors. As I say, half flippantly, as I've thought it through, I may well pick up a second set if Hasbro Pulse now do have them back in stock, because you know, I want to have these in my hands. I want to see them in action. And if I do that, then fear not, I shall be giving you every opportunity to watch, as I shall possibly do it in a video live, as 'twere. Oh, excuse me. So, do you have, should you pick up the Star Wars retro collection of original New Hope figures? Well, to be honest, if you're watching this out of curiosity, part of you probably knows that you need to. I'm not going to tell you whether you have to or not, but you know, I can only talk to my own pain when I didn't do it, and I'm so pleased and relieved that I've now been able to. 6 figures are fantastic, very evocative of the period. They transport me, which is really why I started recollecting toys anyway. They connect me to a very vital part of my life, and a very memory rich part of my life, and I'm really pleased for that reason alone to be able to pick these up. So you need to decide if there's something that you want to go for. Do be careful, if they're on the secondary market online. Some people will be charging and are charging astronomical prices for it, so please have a shop around. Try Hasbro Pulse, try more legitimate, may not be the right word, although they are legitimate online retailers in your country of origin, because you then may not be scalped quite so dramatically as if you're going via auction sites, etc. I'm just going to zoom in on these figures for the last few moments of this video, as I thank you for giving up some of your time and spending it with me. I know you could be watching 101 other YouTube videos or doing 1,001 other things, but you've chosen to spend this time with me. Thank you very much for that. I hope you've enjoyed, as I have, looking at these new figures, these new old figures, and I hope you'll join me again soon for another video. You've been a fantastic audience. Do smash that like button as a Christmas gesture. Why not subscribe as a present to yourself to the channel, and turn on notifications if you haven't done so already, so you never miss a future video. I've been the time traveling toy collector. This has been the Kenner / Hasbro Star Wars retro collection of the first 6 Star Wars figures reproduced from the 1970s. And I look very much forward to seeing you in a very soon future video. And remember, a thing of beauty really is a toy forever.